August 4th, 2022, 3:20 in the afternoon. Carlos Vega's having the kind of day where you're just counting down to quitting time. He and his partner Tim are clearing rockfall near Specimen Ridge, routine maintenance work in Yellowstone. The kind of thing that's 99% boring and 1% oh shit, a bear. Carlos is thinking about dinner, maybe that burger place in Gardner, the one with the elk antlers over the bar. Then his headlamp catches something wedged in a cave opening about 15 feet up the rock face. Tim, hold up. At first, he thinks it's a mannequin, which would be weird, but people dump strange stuff in national parks. Except mannequins don't wear tattered ranger belts, and they don't have actual human bones where their hands should be. Carlos throws up in the sagebrush. Can't help it. The skeletal remains are mostly intact. Clothing deteriorated but recognizable. Flannel shirt, hiking boots, that belt buckle. And there, still fastened around the left wrist bones, is a watch, silver and orange, scratched to hell, somehow still there after 3 years of Montana weather. 3 years! By 5 p.m., the area's swarming with park rangers and county sheriffs. Mike Torres arrives within 20 minutes. He's been a Yellowstone ranger for 18 years, and the second he sees that belt buckle, bronze, shaped like the park's gateway arch, his knees nearly give out. "That's Bobby," he says. Doesn't even need to see the dental records. That's Bobby Marsh. Robert Bobby Marsh, missing since June 15, 2019, vanished along with his 9-year-old granddaughter Emma during what was supposed to be a 4-day camping trip. And the watch, still attached, still intact. Here's the thing that makes everyone go quiet. When the FBI tech specialist carefully bags the watch as evidence the next morning, she notices something. The watch face is dark, obviously. Battery's been dead for years. But the unit itself, a Garmin Fenix 5X, top-of-the-line GPS tracker, it doesn't look damaged. Scratched, yeah, weathered, but not destroyed. Sarah Kwan, the FBI tech, she's seen her share of evidence. Phones pulled from lakes, hard drives that have been through fires. She knows better than to hope. Still, back at the field office in Bozeman, she connects it to a charger. Just to see. The screen flickers. Then it boots up. Let me take you back 3 years. June 2019, before the disappearance, before the search, before everything fell apart. Bobby Marsh wasn't just any grandfather. 40 years he'd worked for the National Park Service, 35 of those right here in Yellowstone. This wasn't some weekend warrior taking his grandkid to see Old Faithful. This was a man who'd rescued lost hikers, tracked poachers, pulled stupid teenagers out of hot springs. Yellowstone wasn't just his workplace, it was his backyard, his church, his whole damn world. And Emma? Emma was his shadow. They'd been doing these trips together since she was 4 years old. Every summer, 1 week, just the two of them. Wilderness Wednesdays, they called it, even though the trips lasted way longer than a Wednesday. Bobby taught her things, real things. How to identify north by moss patterns on trees. How to tie a bowline knot with your eyes closed. Which berries you could eat and which would have you puking your guts out within an hour. Gramps Bobby, she called him. Never just Grandpa, always Gramps Bobby like it was one word. Emma's parents were going through a divorce that year, messy one. Her dad David had already moved out, already started dating someone new. Her mom Jennifer was chain-smoking on the porch most nights, crying when she thought Emma couldn't hear. School was rough. Kids can smell instability like sharks smell blood. But Bobby was steady. Every Sunday, he'd pick Emma up and they'd drive out to the Beartooth Highway just to watch the mountains. He never asked her about the divorce, never made her talk about feelings if she didn't want to, just taught her how to read topographic maps and pointed out where he'd seen a grizzly sow with cubs back in '94. Father's Day, 2019. Emma showed up at Bobby's cabin with a box wrapped in newspaper comics because she'd spend all her wrapping paper money on what was inside. 6 months of allowance, birthday money from her other grandma, $5 she found in the couch. All of it went into that watch. Garmin Fenix 5X. silver titanium case with an orange silicone band, sapphire crystal lens, GPS tracking, heart rate monitor, the works. Way too expensive for a 9-year-old's budget, but the guy at REI in Bozeman gave her a discount when she explained it was for her grandfather. Might have been the way her voice got real quiet when she said, "He's the only one who hasn't left yet." Bobby opened it and didn't say anything for a solid minute, just turned it over in his hands. This is too much." "It's engraved," she said, bouncing on her toes the way she did when she was proud of something. He flipped it over. "So you'll always find your way back to me, Emma." Bobby wasn't a crier. 60-plus years of Montana winters and wilderness emergencies had weathered that out of him, but his eyes got shiny. He put that watch on right then, wore it every single day after. "Guess I'm never getting lost now," he told her. The Yellowstone trip was Emma's idea. Specifically, she wanted to see wolves in Lamar Valley. She'd done a school project on wolf reintroduction and become borderline obsessed, had maps of pack territories taped to her bedroom wall, could name the alpha female of the Junction Butte pack from a photo. Real wolves, grams Bobby, not in a zoo. So, Bobby planned it. June 14th through 18th, Slough Creek Campground right in the heart of wolf country. He filed the backcountry permit, packed the medical kit, the water purifier, the satellite phone, double-checked Emma's asthma. She had mild asthma, nothing serious, but you don't take chances in the wilderness. 4 days, Bobby promised Jennifer. "I'll call you every evening on the sat phone." "I know," Jennifer said. "You've done this a million times." She hugged Emma for what felt like forever. Emma squirmed away eventually, embarrassed, but also 9 years old and excited to see wolves. "Love you, baby." "Love you too, Mom. We'll bring you a cool rock." That was their thing. Every trip, Emma brought her mom a cool rock. They drove through the Roosevelt Arch, the original entrance, the one with Teddy Roosevelt's dedication from 1903. Emma read it out loud, "For the benefit and enjoyment of the people." "That's us," Bobby said, "the people." June in Yellowstone smells like sulfur and pine and possibility. The geysers are screaming, bison are calving. The whole park feels alive in a way it doesn't the rest of the year. Tourists everywhere, yeah, but if you know where to go, and Bobby knew where to go, you can still find silence, real silence, the kind where you hear your own heartbeat. They set up camp that first afternoon at Slough Creek. Tent positioned with the opening facing east the way Bobby always did it. Something about morning sun waking you naturally. Emma wanted to help with everything. Steaks, rainfly, the bear hang for their food. Her hands were small but determined. Dinner was instant mac and cheese, Emma's favorite, the kind with the powder cheese that turns your fingers orange. Bobby told her about the time in 1987 when he'd found a grizzly cub stuck in a drainage culvert, how the mama bear had watched him from 50 yards away while he used a come-along to pry the metal open, how the cub had bitten him anyway, right through his glove. Did it hurt? Like hell, Bobby said, then caught himself. Don't tell your mother I said hell. Emma grinned. $20. They had a swear jar thing going. She kept track. That night was perfect. Stars so thick you couldn't see the darkness between them. Emma fell asleep in her bag with her headlamp still on, reading a field guide to animal tracks. Bobby sat outside for a while longer, checked the watch, 9:47 p.m., made a note in the little journal he always kept. Weather, coordinates, what they'd seen. June 14th, 2019, Slough Creek, clear skies, Emma's first wolf trip. She's ready. He had no idea.
Morning of June 15th came cold and bright. Emma was up at 6, shaking Bobby's tent like a kid on Christmas morning. Gramps, Bobby, wake up! I heard howling. She probably hadn't. Wolves usually go quiet by dawn, but Bobby wasn't about to crush that enthusiasm. They ate granola bars and drank instant coffee. Well, Bobby drank coffee and Emma had hot chocolate that was mostly powder because they didn't heat the water enough. 6:47 a.m. Emma spotted them through her binoculars. 4 wolves, maybe 500 yards out, moving along a ridge. She grabbed Bobby's arm so hard she'd leave a bruise. There! Oh my God, there! The Junction Butte pack. Bobby noted it in his journal, later found in the tent. Described which wolves Emma saw, how she'd stopped breathing for a second when the big gray one turned and looked in their direction. Can we follow them? Bobby hesitated. This is what gets people hurt in Yellowstone. Following wildlife, getting too close, thinking nature is a petting zoo. But these were wolves, not bison. Wolves don't charge tourists, and they had distance, and Bobby knew this terrain like most people know their driveway. Safe distance, he said. We stay at least 200 yards back. They packed light. Water, snacks, first aid kit. The satellite phone stayed at camp. Bobby figured they'd be gone 3, maybe 4 hours. Back by lunchtime, easy. The wolves moved northwest, parallel to Soda Butt Creek. Bobby and Emma followed, keeping to the tree line. It was slow going. The wolves weren't in a hurry, and every 10 minutes Emma wanted to stop and watch them through the binoculars. 11:15 a.m. A hiker passed them coming the other direction. David Chen from Seattle, who'd later tell police he'd exchanged maybe 20 words with Bobby, asked about a shortcut back to the main trail. Bobby pointed southeast, gave him quick directions. Chen noticed Emma had a purple JanSport backpack with frozen patches ironed on it. Noticed Bobby looked fit for his age. Noticed the orange watch band. That was the last confirmed sighting. Somewhere between 11:15 and 2 in the afternoon, something went wrong. We don't know exactly what. There's guesses, theories, reconstructions based on evidence found later, but the moment itself, lost. What we do know is this. At 4:30 p.m., Jennifer's phone buzzed with a call from Bobby's satellite phone number. She was at work. She managed a hardware store in Livingston, and she almost didn't answer because they were slammed. But she did answer. 8 seconds of wind noise. Not voices. Not screaming. Just wind howling across the speaker. That hollow sound when a phone's outside in open air. Then, nothing. Call dropped. She tried calling back, straight to satellite voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. Jennifer told herself it was nothing. Bobby probably pocket-dialed. Phone shifted in his pack. Happened all the time with those satellite units, right? Except Bobby had promised to call every evening at 6. It was their deal. 6 p.m. came and went. No call. 7 p.m. Jennifer left work early. Sat in her car in the parking lot, phone in hand. 8 p.m. She called the Park Service. 9 p.m. She was on the phone with the ranger station at Mammoth Hot Springs, trying to keep her voice steady while explaining that her father and daughter were somewhere near Slough Creek and weren't answering their sat phone. "Ma'am, it's possible they're just out of range. He has a permit filed. He knows the protocols. He'd call." By midnight, Jennifer was in her car driving the 3 hours to Yellowstone. Probably shouldn't have driven in that state, hands shaking, running on adrenaline and gas station coffee, but she couldn't just sit in Livingston waiting. First search team hit the trail at dawn on June 16th. They found the campsite within 20 minutes. Tent still standing, food properly stored in the bear hang, Bobby's truck parked at the trailhead exactly where it should be. Inside the tent, Emma's backpack. Inside the backpack, her inhaler. That's when Jennifer started screaming. Kids with asthma don't leave their inhalers behind. Not on purpose. Not when they're hiking. Not ever.
The first 72 hours of a search are critical. After that, statistics get ugly. Survival rates drop like a stone. Especially with a 9-year-old involved. Especially in Yellowstone. Because here's what people don't get about Yellowstone. It's not a park in the sense of Central Park or Golden Gate Park. It's 2.2 million acres of legitimate wilderness. Grizzlies, wolves, cliffs, thermal features that'll boil you alive. June nights that drop to freezing, and terrain so rugged that helicopters can miss entire ravines. June 16th, first full day of searching. They had 200 volunteers, 15 search dogs, some air sent, some trailing, 3 helicopters circling grid patterns over Lamar Valley, the works. Mike Torres, Bobby's old partner, he coordinated the whole thing. Hadn't slept, wouldn't sleep for the next 4 days. He knew Bobby better than almost anyone, and he knew Bobby wouldn't have taken unnecessary risks with Emma. "He's hurt," Mike told the team. "Has to be. Only reason Bobby doesn't walk out of here on his own." They worked outward from the tent, probability zones calculated based on where the wolves had been spotted that morning, where the trail led, how far a 71-year-old man and 9-year-old girl could realistically travel. Day 3. Someone found a child's shoe near a creek bed. Jennifer identified it immediately. Pink Skechers with light-up soles. Except wrong size. Size 2. Emma wore size 4. False lead. Day 7. Woman called in from Old Faithful. Swore she'd seen an elderly man and young girl at the gift shop. Fit the description perfectly. Rangers rushed over. Different people. Grandpa from Minnesota with his granddaughter buying postcards. Day 12. Search dog alerted near a ravine off the Lamar River Trail. Got excited, started pulling her handler toward a cluster of rocks. They spent 6 hours excavating the area. Found exactly nothing. Maybe the dog caught old scent. Maybe it was an animal den. Doesn't matter. Another dead end. Jennifer stayed at a motel in Gardner, Montana. The Yellowstone Gateway Inn. $39 a night, bed bugs, and a view of the parking lot. She stayed there for 23 days straight. Every morning drove to the search headquarters, every evening drove back and sat in her room staring at her phone. She'd lost 30 pounds by the end of June. Started smoking again after 10 years quit. Couldn't remember when she'd last eaten a full meal. The media picked it up within a week. CNN ran it. Missing in Yellowstone. Grandfather and granddaughter vanish without a trace. That brought in the psychics. God, the psychics. One woman called from Nevada, said she'd had a vision of Emma in a cave surrounded by angels, gave specific coordinates. Search team hiked out there, nothing but bear scat and a dead porcupine. A man from Oregon sent a 14-page letter detailing how he'd astrally projected to Yellowstone and found Bobby's body near a hot spring. Wrong again. Over 100 tips in the first month, not one panned out. July came. Search scaled down but didn't stop. Theories developed, the way they always do when hard evidence runs dry. Animal attack made sense on paper. Grizzly or wolf, though wolves attacking humans is virtually unheard of. But there was no blood, no torn clothing, no indication of a struggle. Bears scatter stuff when they attack, rip tents, drag bodies. Searches found nothing like that. Abduction theory got traction online. Internet sleuths combing through traffic camera footage from the park entrances, looking for suspicious vehicles. Except Yellowstone gets 25,000 visitors on a busy summer day. How do you narrow that down? Plus no witnesses. No one saw a man and girl being forced into a vehicle. No tire tracks off the trail. Most likely scenario, according to Mike Torres and the SAR coordinators, they'd wandered off trail, fallen, gotten injured somewhere searchers hadn't covered yet. But where? Lamar Valley covers 50 square miles. You could hide a Boeing 747 out there if you knew the right ravine. Winters shut everything down. Yellowstone winters don't mess around. -30 Fahrenheit, 15 feet of snow. If Bobby and Emma hadn't been found by October, they weren't getting found until spring thaw. Jennifer refused to leave Montana, rented a one-bedroom apartment in Bozeman, Montana, got a job waitressing at a breakfast place, kept searching on her days off, just her and a backpack and printed maps with areas marked off. People thought she was crazy. Maybe she was, but what else do you do when your father and daughter are gone and nobody can tell you what happened? June 2020, first anniversary. Small memorial hike, 12 people showed up. COVID had Montana locked down tight and gatherings were limited. They left flowers at the Slow Creek trailhead. Jennifer read a letter she'd written to Emma. "Baby, wherever you are, I haven't stopped looking. I won't ever stop." Mike Torres stood next to her, hand on her shoulder. He'd been hiking Lamar Valley on his days off. Every month, rain, snow, didn't matter. Covering areas the official search had marked low probability. September 2020, Emma's birthday. She would have turned 11. Jennifer posted on the Finding Emma Marsh Facebook group, a group she'd started that now had 8,000 members. Posted an age-progressed photo showing what Emma might look like at 11. Longer hair, losing baby fat in her face, but those same brown eyes. 40,000 shares in 3 days. Tips flooded in. Kid matching Emma's description spotted in Denver, in Spokane, in Billings, in Boise. Rangers or local police followed up every single one. None of them were Emma. June 2021, second anniversary. Renewed search. 1 week, organized by the Never Stop Looking Foundation, a nonprofit Jennifer had started using donated funds. 50 volunteers, mostly locals who'd been following the story. They covered another 100 square miles of terrain. Found a campsite from the 1980s. Found a lost wedding ring. found wolf tracks and elk bones and a rusted coffee can full of cigarette butts. No sign of Bobby or Emma. Mike Torres kept searching. This matters. You need to understand how unusual this is. SAR teams move on. They have to. There's always another missing person, another emergency. But Mike couldn't let it go. Bobby had trained him when he first joined the Park Service, taught him how to read the wilderness, saved his ass once when Mike got turned around during a whiteout. Every month, Mike hiked. Different routes each time, pushing further out from the last known position, into terrain most people wouldn't consider because it was too remote, too difficult. Bobby could have covered that distance if he was injured, Mike told other rangers who thought he was wasting his time. And if anyone could survive out there, it's Bobby. Past tense. Could survive. Could survive. Even Mike was starting to lose hope. August 4th, 2022. 3 years, almost to the day. Carlos Vega and Tim Holland were clearing rockfall near Specimen Ridge. Routine work, the kind of thing park maintenance does all summer to keep trails passable. They weren't even thinking about the Marsh case. That was old news by then. Tragic, yeah, but old. 2:30 p.m. Carlos is hauling a chunk of volcanic rock when his headlamp catches something in a cave opening about 15 feet up. Small cave, maybe 8 feet deep. Definitely wasn't there last year. This section of ridge had collapsed recently, probably during spring thaw. He climbs up, peers inside. Later, he'll tell the investigators he knew immediately it was human remains. Something about the way the bones were positioned, curled up like someone went to sleep and never woke up. The belt buckle confirmed it before the dental records did. Bronze, shaped like the Roosevelt Arch. Bobby had worn that buckle for 20 years. But what made everyone stop cold was the watch. Still on his wrist, still intact. Orange band faded but whole, sapphire crystals scratched to hell but not shattered. Mike Torres arrived and broke down right there in the sagebrush. Big guy, 6'3", built like a grizzly, and he just collapsed. 3 years of searching, 3 years of hope fading into obligation, fading into ritual. And here was Bobby. "I promised I'd find you," Mike said to the remains. Probably didn't realize he was talking out loud. "I promised."
August 5th, 2022, 9 in the morning. FBI field office in Bozeman. Sarah Kwan's been a digital forensics specialist for 12 years. She's recovered data from phones that have been underwater for months, pulled evidence off hard drives that were shot with 9mm rounds. She knows what's possible and what isn't. A watch that's been exposed to 3 years of Montana weather, snow, rain, summer heat that could crack stone, that should be dead. Not just dead, destroyed, corroded, useless. Still, protocol says you try. She connects the Garmin to a charger. Nothing for 30 seconds. Then the screen flickers. Garmin logo appears. Loading bar crawls across the display. Everyone in the room goes silent. The watch boots up. Last sync, June 15th, 2019, 11:43 a.m. That's expected. Bobby wouldn't have had cell signal or Wi-Fi out there to sync with Garmin servers. But then Sarah opens the activity log and her hands stop moving. Recording continued until June 26th, 2019, 2:17 a.m. 11 days. The watch recorded data for 11 days after Bobby disappeared. 11 days of GPS coordinates, 11 days of heart rate data, 11 days of Bobby's last movements tracked and stored in solid-state memory that somehow, impossibly, survived. Jesus Christ, someone whispers. Sarah exports everything to a laptop, pulls up mapping software, loads the GPS track. And there it is, a breadcrumb trail of coordinates starting from the point David Chen saw them and ending somewhere else, miles away. Mike Torres is called immediately. So is Jennifer, so is the county sheriff and the park superintendent, and about 15 other people who need to see this. By noon, they're all crowded into a conference room, watching Sarah overlay the GPS data onto a Yellowstone topographic map. This is the moment everything changes. June 15th, 2019, day of the disappearance. 11:43 a.m., last coordinate sync. Bobby and Emma are 0.3 miles from where David Chen saw them. Heart rate, 68 beats per minute. Normal, resting. Then nothing for 32 minutes. Watch is recording, but Bobby's not moving, probably glassing the wolves, waiting for them to move. 2:15 p.m., heart rate spikes to 142. GPS shows rapid elevation drop, not gradual descent, rapid, like a fall.
Sarah zooms in on the terrain. It's a ravine. Steep sides, loose volcanic rock, the kind of place where one wrong step sends you tumbling. He fell, Mike says, states it flat like he's diagnosing a wound, slipped on loose rock. 2:17 p.m., GPS static for 27 minutes, no movement, heart rate 0. Not dead. Watch loses heart rate signal when it's jostled wrong or if the wearer is unconscious and their wrist position changes. Bobby was unconscious. 2:44 p.m., GPS resumes. Movement detected. Erratic, slow. Heart rate 95. He woke up, and he started moving. But here's what makes everyone lean closer to the screen. He's not moving toward camp. Camp is 2 miles southeast. Bobby starts moving northwest. Why? Why would he go that direction? Mike studies the map, runs his finger along the GPS track. Cell phone. He must have dropped it in the fall. Satellite phone's back at camp. He's hurt, can't make it back to camp, so he's going for the ranger station at Slough Creek. 7 miles, through wilderness, with injuries. 8:30 p.m., GPS shows they stopped. Heart rate drops to 78. Resting. Bobby made it about 1.5 miles that first day. That's extraordinary, given what investigators would later confirm from his remains. Left femur fracture, broken leg, complete break. The kind of injury that makes grown men pass out from pain. And he walked 1.5 miles. No, not walked. Can't walk on a broken femur. He dragged himself, or hopped, or made a crutch from a branch. However he did it, he moved 1.5 miles. Stopped when it got dark. Smart. Yellowstone at night is where people die from hypothermia or stumbling off cliffs. But here's the thing that makes Jennifer start crying. The GPS data shows irregular pauses every 200 yards. Stop, rest, move, stop, rest, move. Bobby wasn't alone. He had Emma. He was carrying her. June 16th to 17th. Daylight hours show steady movement northwest. Painfully slow, 0.4 miles per day. Normal hiking pace is 2 to 3 miles per hour. Bobby's managing 0.4 miles over 12 hours of daylight. That's about 200 feet per hour. That's crawling pace. Heart rate fluctuates between 88 and 105. Elevated, constant. The watch is tracking sustained exertion and pain. June 17th, 3 a.m. Heart rate spiked to 134. Everyone looks at Mike. Bear, he says, or wolf. Something came near them. Can you imagine that? Injured, in the dark, protecting a 9-year-old girl from a predator you can hear but can't see? Heart rate stays elevated for 40 minutes, then drops back to 90. Whatever it was, it left. June 18th to 20th. The GPS track gets erratic. They're near a creek bed, Pebble Creek, based on coordinates, and Bobby starts making loops. Same 200-yard area, circling. He's lost, Sarah says. Not lost, Mike corrects. Disoriented. Head trauma, exhaustion, dehydration. He knows he needs water, but can't think straight enough to follow the creek properly. Heart rate data is concerning now. Dropping. 72, 68, 61, 58 beats per minute. Bobby's body is shutting down. But he's still moving, still carrying Emma, still trying. June 25th to 24th. Movement nearly stops. 50 yards total over 4 days. The GPS coordinates match the cave system where Carlos found Bobby's remains. He made it there, found shelter, probably thought he'd rest and regain strength. He never did. Heart rate continues declining. June 22nd, 61 BPM. June 23rd, 58 BPM. June 24th, 55 BPM. June 23rd, 11 p.m. Final Bobby movement. GPS shows 100 yards traveled. Heart rate 51. That's the last time Bobby was mobile, based on the data. But the watch keeps recording. June 25th, 2 p.m. This is where everyone in the conference room leans forward. GPS shows movement, 200 yards. Heart rate, 89 beats per minute. But that doesn't make sense. Bobby's heart rate has been declining. His last recorded movement was 51 BPM. You don't jump from 51 to 89 when you're dying of injuries and exposure. Mike Torres sees it first.
That's not Bobby. What? That's Emma. Bobby gave her the watch. Silence. Think about what that means. Bobby, broken and dying in a cave, takes off the watch his granddaughter saved 6 months of allowance to buy him. The watch with the inscription, "So you'll always find your way back to me." He puts it on Emma's wrist, shows her the GPS arrow, and tells her to follow it. He was still protecting her, Jennifer whispers. Emma, 9 years old, carrying her grandfather's GPS watch, walks out of that cave following a digital arrow towards safety. June 25th to 26th. Emma's movements are sporadic. She walks during daylight, stops at night. Smart. Bobby taught her that. June 25th, 0.3 miles. June 26th, 2 a.m., 0.5 miles more. Total distance from Bobby's cave, 0.8 miles northeast. Heart rate, 94 BPM. Elevated but not panicked. Determined. 2:17 a.m., June 26th. Last coordinate logged. Last heart rate reading. Then nothing. Battery died, or Emma took off the watch, or something happened. But the final coordinate is clear, specific. 44 degrees, 54 minutes, 18 seconds north. 110 degrees, 23 minutes, 42 seconds west. Sarah prints out a map with the location marked. "We need to go there," Mike says, "right now." August 6th, 2022, 4:45 p.m. Search team reaches the coordinates. Another cave, smaller than Bobby's, tucked into a hillside, easy to miss unless you knew exactly where to look. They find Emma's jacket, North Face windbreaker, size girls 10. She'd grown, not size 8 anymore like when she disappeared. Makeshift shelter, branches arranged in a lean-to pattern exactly like Bobby taught her during their Wilderness Wednesdays. Fire pit, stones arranged in a ring. Ash tested later, 2 to 3 years old, multiple fires. Emma had survived here for months. Scratches on the cave wall, tally marks. Someone counted them, 127 days. And then, the thing that makes everyone's breath catch. A granola bar wrapper, Nature Valley, oats and honey, expiration date March 2021. A hair tie, pink, fabric, clearly used recently. Emma had been here, not in June 2019, years later. She'd come back, or stayed, or something. DNA testing on the hair tie takes 3 days. 99.7% match to Emma Marsh. She was alive in 2021. Maybe she still is.
August 7th, 2022. Everything mobilizes. FBI takes over. This isn't just a search and rescue anymore. This is a potential abduction case. A child who survived wilderness alone or was taken by someone. Either way, she might still be alive, might still be out there. Age-progressed photos get updated. Emma at 12. Longer hair, losing that little kid roundness in her face. Still has those brown eyes, though. Still looks like the girl in Jennifer's wallet. Search perimeter, 20-mile radius from the second cave. Every campground, every ranger station, every remote cabin gets checked. And they find boot prints, 100 yards from the cave. Fresh-ish, maybe 6 months old. Size 6 women's. 9-year-old Emma wore size 4 kids. 12-year-old Emma would wear about size 6 women's. The prints lead northeast, toward Highway 212, the northeast entrance road. Theories flood in. Theory 1, Emma survived alone in the wilderness for 3 years, learned to hunt, trap, find food, lived in caves, avoided people. Mike Torres shakes his head. I want to believe it, but 3 years? No way. We're not talking about a trained survivalist. She was 9. Theory 2. Emma walked to civilization suffering from trauma or amnesia. Someone found her, didn't recognize her. She's out there with a new identity, no memory of who she really is. Possible. Head trauma can cause amnesia. Extreme stress can fragment memory, especially in children. Theory 3. Someone found Emma, took her in. Maybe someone off-grid, prepper, compound resident, someone who doesn't interact with authorities. Or worse, someone who knew exactly who she was and took her anyway. FBI starts pulling traffic camera footage from Highway 212, summer 2019 through 2022. That's thousands of hours of grainy video showing cars, RVs, motorcycles streaming in and out of Yellowstone. They find something. August 3rd, 2019, rest stop 14 miles from the cave, 3:47 p.m. Grainy footage. A man, maybe late 40s, early 50s, beard, baseball cap, and a child, girl, right height, right age range for Emma. They're walking from the restroom toward a pickup truck, Montana plates, but the video quality is too poor to read the full number. The girl's face is turned away from the camera. Just for a second, she looks back. Pixelated, blurry, could be anyone. FBI enhances it, runs facial recognition. Possible match, not definitive, maybe 60% confidence. But the timing fits. Bobby died around June 24th. Emma left the cave with the watch June 25th, 26th. She survived in the second cave. The tally marks show 127 days, which brings us to late October 2019. If she emerged in summer 2019, confused, traumatized, and someone found her, we need that license plate, the lead investigator says. They can't get it. Video's too grainy. Enhancement algorithms can only do so much. But they have the composite. Bearded man, 40s, 50s, Montana plates starting with 8B. September 2022. A campground host from Cook City, 15 miles from the cave, comes forward. Took her long enough. She'd been following the news, saw the composite sketch, and something clicked. Summer 2019. Can't remember exact date, but sometime late July. A man and a girl stayed 2 nights at her campground. She remembers because the girl was quiet, didn't talk, wouldn't make eye contact. I thought maybe she was shy or autistic, something, but she seemed off. The man claimed to be her uncle, said they were camping, heading to Glacier next, paid cash, gave a name that the campground host can't remember. What about the truck? Montana plates, I remember that. Silverado, maybe? Or F-150. Dark blue or green. Partial plate. She thinks it started with 8B. FBI creates a composite sketch based on the campground host's description. Bearded man, weathered face, glasses, late 40s. Sketch gets circulated. Local news, national news, FBI's most wanted website. Tips flood in. Man looks like someone's ex-husband. Man looks like a guy who works at a hardware store in Billings. Man looks like half the men in Montana. None of them pan out. But the DNA doesn't lie. Emma was in that cave in 2021. She's alive, or was alive recently. Somewhere out there, a girl who might not remember her own name is living a life. Maybe she's okay. Maybe she's safe. Maybe she's waiting to be found. Let's walk through what we know, what the watch data tells us, what the evidence confirms. June 15th, 2019, around 2:15 p.m. Bobby and Emma are following wolves. Terrain gets steep, volcanic rock, the kind that looks stable but crumbles under weight. Bobby steps wrong, or the ground gives out, doesn't matter which. He falls 30 feet into a ravine. Left femur breaks on impact. Later analysis of his remains confirms it. Complete fracture, jagged break. That's not an injury you walk off. That's an injury that makes you scream until your throat bleeds. Possible head trauma, too. The disorientation in the GPS data suggests concussion at minimum. Emma's unhurt. Maybe she wasn't as close to the edge. Maybe Bobby pushed her back before he fell. We don't know. But imagine being 9 years old, watching your grandfather, your Gramps Bobby, the most capable person you know, fall and not get up right away. Bobby regains consciousness around 2:44 p.m. He's got a broken leg, possible concussion, and a 9-year-old granddaughter depending on him. Cell phone's gone. Dropped during the fall or smashed, doesn't matter. Satellite phone is 2 miles away at camp. He can't make it back to camp, not with these injuries. But the ranger station at Slough Creek is 7 miles northwest. Bobby knows this terrain. He knows if he can just get close enough, Emma can run ahead and get help. So he moves, broken leg and all. He makes a crush, probably, finds a branch, uses his belt to lash it, or maybe he just hops, drags himself. However he does it, he covers 1.5 miles that first day. Carrying Emma? Not literally, she can walk, but a 9-year-old in wilderness alone is vulnerable. Bobby keeps her close, protects her, moves slow enough that she can keep up. Every 200 yards, they stop, Bobby's legs screaming. Maybe he checks the watch, makes sure they're still heading the right direction. Maybe he talks to Emma, keeps her calm. "We're okay, Em. We're getting there, just a little further." June 16th through 20th. Bobby's declining. Injuries catching up with him. Dehydration, exhaustion, infection probably setting in to that broken femur. But he keeps moving. 0.4 miles per day. It's nothing. It's everything. June 18th, they reach a creek. Bobby knows they need water, but he's getting disoriented, can't think straight, circles the same area for 2 days. Probably Emma tries to help, fills the water bottles if they still have them, maybe catches crayfish in the creek. Bobby taught her how. June 21st, Bobby finds the cave. Finally, shelter. He collapses inside. For 3 days, he rests, heart rate dropping, body shutting down. June 24th, Bobby knows he's not getting up again, knows he's dying. But Emma's alive. She's strong, she's smart. Bobby taught her everything he knows. He takes off the watch Emma saved up for, the watch with the inscription on the back, puts it on her wrist, shows her the GPS function, the arrow that points to waypoints. "Follow this, Em. It'll take you to the ranger station. You can do this." Maybe Emma cries. Maybe she refuses to leave. Maybe Bobby has to convince her, has to make her promise. "I'll catch up. I just need to rest first." She knows he's lying. 9 years old, and she knows. But she puts on the watch, and she walks. June 25th through 26th. Emma follows the GPS arrow, walks during the day, stops at night, just like Bobby taught her. She makes it 0.8 miles before the watch battery dies. Finds another cave, smaller but shelter, makes a fire, stays alive. The tally marks show 127 days, 4 months. Emma Marsh, 9 years old, survived 4 months alone in Yellowstone wilderness. That's extraordinary. That's nearly impossible. But Bobby taught her well. August 2019. Emma emerges, or someone finds her. We don't know which. The rest stop footage, the campground sighting, suggests someone picked her up, claiming to be family. Emma doesn't correct them. Why? Trauma. She watched her grandfather die, spent months alone. That kind of experience breaks people, especially kids. Amnesia's possible. Selective mutism's possible. Maybe she couldn't speak, couldn't explain who she was. Or maybe she did tell someone, and they didn't believe her, didn't report it. Or maybe, and this is the theory the FBI's working, someone took her deliberately, saw a vulnerable child and took advantage. The hair tie, dated 2021, changes everything. Emma came back to that cave, or lived there longer than 4 months. The tally marks might not tell the full story. Why would she come back? If she'd been taken to safety, why return to the wilderness? Unless she wasn't taken to safety, unless wherever she ended up was worse than alone. Jennifer thinks about this every day. What her daughter's been through, what she might still be going through. Bobby protected her as long as he could, gave her every tool to survive. The watch was his final gift, and it brought us this close, but not all the way home.
October 2022. Jennifer buries her father in a cemetery outside Livingston. Small service, maybe 40 people. Mike Torres gives the eulogy, barely makes it through. Bobby Marsh was the best ranger Yellowstone ever had, and he was an even better grandfather. He died protecting Emma. He died giving her a chance. The watch, Bobby's watch, is still FBI evidence. Jennifer's requested it back when the case closes, if it ever closes. She keeps a photo on her phone. Emma, age 6, handing Bobby the wrapped box.
You can see Bobby's face in the photo, that exact moment he realizes what it is, eyes shining. "So you'll always find your way back to me." He tried. God, he tried. Emma would be 15 now, January 2026. Somewhere out there, a teenage girl might be going to school, working, living a life. Maybe she remembers Yellowstone, maybe she doesn't. Memory's tricky, especially childhood memory. Trauma fractures it, time erodes it. It's possible Emma Marsh has no idea who Emma Marsh is, but maybe she does. Maybe she's seen the age-progressed photos, the news coverage. Maybe she knows people are looking and can't come forward. Can't or won't, there's a difference. FBI's still investigating. Tips still come in. Most are nothing. Woman in Spokane who looks similar but isn't Emma. Girl in Denver who has the same birthday but isn't Emma. The composite sketch of the bearded man gets circulated quarterly. Updated versions based on aging. He'd be mid-50s now. Montana DMV records show 847 vehicles with plates starting 8B registered in 2019. FBI's interviewed owners of 491 so far. Nothing. No leads. No breaks. Impact on Yellowstone's been significant. New protocols implemented. Mandatory GPS check-ins for all backcountry permits. Every 4 hours you ping your coordinates or rangers come looking. Bobby's Law got proposed in Montana legislature, requires children under 12 in national parks to wear GPS trackers. It's controversial. Some say it's safety, others say it ruins the wilderness experience. The law hasn't passed, probably won't, but the conversation's happening. Garmin donated 1,000 GPS devices to search and rescue teams across the country. PR move? Maybe, but those devices are saving lives. The specific watch, the Phoenix 5X that recorded Bobby's final days, that watch is legendary now. Garmin engineers studied it, couldn't figure out how the battery lasted 11 days on GPS mode when it's rated for maybe 10, 12 hours. Best guess? Bobby switched it to ultra-track mode, extended battery setting that pings coordinates every 60 seconds instead of every second, sacrificing accuracy for duration. Even in dying, Bobby was thinking ahead, making that battery last as long as possible so Emma had a guide. Jennifer's still in Bozeman, still working, still searching. She updates the Facebook page weekly. Never Stop Looking Foundation has raised $400,000. Money goes to SAR teams, awareness campaigns, age progression updates. Emma's brother, Jennifer, had another child in 2020, a boy named Jack. He's 5 now, asks about his sister. Jennifer shows him pictures. "Will I meet her someday?" "I hope so, baby. I hope so." Emma's father, David, remarried, has 2 more kids. He's involved in the search, but differently. Jennifer can tell he's moved on in a way she never will. That's fine. That's his process. Jennifer's process is driving to Yellowstone every few months, hiking near Slough Creek, visiting the cave where Bobby died. Rangers now call it Bobby's Watch Point, unofficial name, but it stuck. Mike Torres placed a small bronze plaque near the entrance. Robert Bobby Marsh, Ranger, Grandfather, Guardian. Jennifer sits there sometimes, talks to her father, thanks him for protecting Emma, promises she's still looking. "You brought her so far, Dad. We'll bring her the rest of the way." The watch does more than evidence now. It's a symbol. Technology and love combined. Digital breadcrumbs leading toward hope. Every year on June 15th, volunteers hike Lamar Valley, distribute flyers, Emma's face, age progressed, contact information, composite sketch of the bearded man. Social media campaign #FindEmmaMarsh has 2.3 million followers. People share her story, keep her face visible. Because here's the thing about missing persons cases. They go cold when people forget, when the public stops caring, when it becomes old news. Emma's case hasn't gone cold, can't go cold. Not when there's DNA evidence she was alive in 2021. Not when there's a girl out there who might be Emma. Picture this. A cave in Yellowstone, not dark and terrifying like you'd imagine. Peaceful, actually. At certain times of day, sunlight filters through the opening, illuminates the dust motes, makes everything glow. That's where Bobby died, not in darkness, in
in light. And somewhere, Emma is still alive. Has to be. Jennifer won't believe otherwise. 15 years old now. Maybe she's in high school. Maybe she's working. Maybe she's with a family that loves her even if they don't know her real name. Or maybe she's waiting for someone to recognize her, waiting for a memory to surface, waiting for the right moment to come home. Bobby's watch recorded 11 days. Emma's story isn't finished, and neither is the search. If you're watching this, look at Emma's age-progressed photo. Really look. Brown eyes, maybe longer hair now. She'd be 15, almost 16, old enough to drive, old enough to work, old enough to watch YouTube videos about missing persons cases and wonder. If you have any information about Emma Marsh, if you recognize the composite sketch of the man from Cook City, if you saw something in summer 2019 near Yellowstone that didn't sit right, contact the FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Reference the Emma Marsh case. Sometimes the smallest detail breaks everything open. A license plate fragment, a memory, a girl who looks familiar. Don't assume someone else will call. Be the someone. Bobby's watch had an inscription, so you'll always find your way back to me. He's still trying to lead her home. Through that watch, through this story, through people who'll remember her face. Emma Marsh is out there, and we're still looking.